Yeah.
Steve McDonald from Red Cross. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You guys are touring Australia again in March next year with the Hard-Ons. Do you recall when you first became aware of the Hard-Ons?
The Hard-Ons came to the US in the late 80s. And I think that we were briefly on the same label with them. I think they were on Big Time, maybe, and which was an Australian label. And I remember, I think they rehearsed at the same place. They rehearsed in at Dave Nasworthy's house in Beverly Hills, where Red Cross kind of um, had our headquarters for a good 4 or 5 years in the 80s. So that's my first memory of hanging out with them was sometime in the late 80s.
Yeah. And how did you find out about international bands back in the day? I mean, MySpace didn't come along till about 2003, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of times we would just kind of learn about stuff when we get there. I remember going to Australia and people handing us like CDs of mixed like mixtapes of Oz rock and things like that. Or um, but then growing up, just the same sources in general would be like magazines and going to the record shops and looking in the import sections and choosing records based on record covers and things like that. And sometimes you would strike out and sometimes you would hit it, you know.
You've toured Australia many times with Red Cross and the Melvins. What are some of your favorite tour stories of Australia?
Huh. Well, I'm trying to think. Well, I remember one time our guitar player got kicked in the gut by a kangaroo. That was pretty. That was that was funny. It was fine. It was one of the grays. It wasn't a big red one, but still was quite scary. And we were or surprising. And I remember the kangaroo just leaned back on his massive tail that was like the size of my thigh, and just gave him one. and um, but yeah, I don't know. We've had great tours there. I mean, I know that Tim Rogers is joining the Hard-Ons on this tour, and we did a tour with the UMI and the Hoodoo Gurus back in '94, and that was maybe one of the most extensive tours we'd done at Australia, and that was, every night was super inspiring and really fun, and just a great crew of people to be traveling with.
I was surprised that you guys never got to play the big day out back in the day.
Yeah, we missed that one.
Yeah, you did get to play Golden Plains though.
We did. We played Golden Plains once, and I think, yeah, I've played at the Meredith Fest once or twice with other bands as well.
Yeah. So, how do you approach a set list for a tour like this?
Well, I don't know. We haven't done it yet. I've been trying to lure my brother over to the rehearsal space or into my little den, and I haven't had any success yet. But yeah, I don't know. Because the other thing is that we have part of this same tour. We come home after we do this tour, and then we do a small run in the U.S. But one of the dates is we're playing on a cruise ship. It's a festival on a cruise ship, and we're doing like 3 gigs on the cruise ship, and they want each set to be different. And I'm like, okay, so we're gonna have to dig into our vaults and see what's realistic for us to take on. But I think in general, um, it's always trying to strike the balance between what people want to hear and what's fun for us. And I know that our most recent record, um, which came out towards the end of 24, but we haven't toured Australia yet on it, and it's our self-titled album, or also known as the Red Album. Um, we've been leaning kind of heavily into that, and I know sometimes people hear that and they're like, "Oh, new songs," but but we've been really lucky with this record. People seem to be excited about it and like hearing tunes from it. So there probably will be a lot of the Red album, and then just a nice variety of songs throughout our history um, for the rest of the set.
But what do you guys like to do in the minutes before hitting the stage? You got any routines?
Uh, well, let me think. Well, try to eat. Try to, hopefully, there's enough time to eat 2, 3 hours before so that we're, not burping on stage. And uh, I don't know. I have my little travel guitar that's not in here right now, but I'm usually strumming chords and just like nervously awaiting my moment. And yeah, it's usually not that exciting backstage, to be honest.
Both Red Cross and the Hard-Ons have recently had documentaries made about you. Have you seen their film, and how does it feel to have your career documented?
Yeah, I have not seen their documentary yet, and I'm looking forward to watching it. Um, it's nice. And I'm very grateful as far as our documentary. I'm very grateful that the director Andrew Reich um, pursued the project and did it tirelessly and with a lot of care and love. And, because these things can sometimes go awry, or more commonly, people just kind of lose inspiration and and stop bugging you to do interviews, and then it peters out. And yeah, he was obsessive about it. So we were very lucky that we, stumbled into a fellow obsessive like ourselves.
Are you a fan of music documentaries in general?
I can be, I mean, um, yeah, I mean, I love history, I love rock history, and I like stories of the human experience. And it kind of ticks a lot of boxes, the rock doc. Some are more some are more compelling than others, but it's a nice tradition to be a part of.
Yeah. Waiting for this interview, I started to watch the movie Spirit of '76, which is on YouTube now.
Mm.
What are your memories of your involvement in that film?
Oh, well, I hadn't seen it since the 90s until very recently. They did a screening of it um, last 4th of July at this cool spot near my house, and I brought my 16-year-old son. So, and we did a little Q&A. So, yeah, I kind of watched it for the first time as maybe a more of a grown adult, and I feel like I had a little more objectivity, and I thought it held up well. I was, I mean, not necessarily like any credit to me. I mean, I think that Jeff and I are goofy and stiff at times, but a couple of things land nicely. And but all things considered, I think we've followed through on the challenge, and I'm proud of the younger us for doing it. And but the film itself is fun, and it's smart and goofy as it should be. And neat that Jeff and I got to work with David Cassidy in such close quarters. And yeah, and I just think about the writer filmmaker Lucas Reiner, who is basically, he's an artist in his own right, but most people would think of him as Carl Reiner's other son and the brother of Rob Reiner, and hence both of them have cameos in the film. It was his first ever attempt at writing a movie, and I think he did a great job. It's funny and smart.
Yeah. You're a fan of TV, Brady Bunch, Partridge Family. When you met David, was it a bit of a fanboy happening?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It seemed surreal, and Jeff always likes to remind people that I guess I kind of don't remember, but now I kind of do, that when the people, when they were casting, they had Donny Osmond in mind for that role. I guess they wanted to have some kind of like 70s pop icon, but Donny Osmond at that moment was having a little bit of like a resurgence in the mainstream. He had a song called like "Soldier of Love" or something that was a it cracked the top 10, and I'm sure Donny Osmond would have, or Don, it would have been fine, but Jeff and I were like, you got to get David Cassidy, dude, Keith Partridge, and so there was that we felt like we kind of helped him to get the gig, which was also surreal because we were not showbiz kids. We grew up in a working class neighborhood, and our parents have a small welding company, and we weren't like these hippie kids raised on a commune or something. That this world was very foreign to us, and this mainstream showbiz world, and or even if we were talking about stars from 20 years earlier, it still was totally surreal. And but then in real life it was just like that kind of mesmerized feeling. It subsides, and then you get down to business. And I think David Cassidy at the time was, now in retrospect, I can kind of see where he was in his life. I mean, now I'm older than he was then. He was in his 40s. And I remember we were really confused by a lot of his reactions to our questions because we were just, unironically Partridge Family fans. And we knew it was maybe a little bit of like a unique perspective, but we meant it. And we wanted to hear all these stories about these recording sessions because then in all reality, those sessions were done with like, done in the same studios that Pet Sounds had been recorded in 5 years earlier with many of the same session players. And, I mean, we held it in high regard on that level. And we were talking to him that way. And he often was acting like his initial reaction was like, are you fucking with me? And I think it took him a while to realize, now these guys are just freaks and that they mean this. And he slowly let his guard down. And then it also didn't help that we were like a foot taller than him, and that made him uptight too. You'd often have to use the apple cart and stand on top. So that, and shots that were like bust high or whatever.
You play with Red Cross and the Melbournes, among other things. What's the difference between playing in both bands, and do the audiences differ?
What's the difference between playing with the bands
And yeah,
and then
and
because I
the
mean I recently just did a tour where I played in I did double duties, and the bands toured together, and we've done that we did that in Australia once too, and that's also unique. But do the audiences differ? I mean, it's rock and roll. I don't know. I mean, it's funny. Like, I think that's one thing in my age. Maybe a little bit of wisdom is I try not to get into the head of the audience too much. I try not to guess what they're thinking because that really takes me out of the moment. And as much as I desire approval, and usually that comes in I guess in the live, there's proof of approval and applause or something, or in a punk band if they're moshing or something. But that's a slippery slope. Trying to analyze the audience too much. But I mean, there's an age group thing, and people are generally in the same age group that I'm in. But I mean, I think that it's all just kind of the same in the sense that it's like people are there for to be entertained and to be, and maybe if it's joy that we're peddling, then they want to have a joyful experience. If it's with the Melvins, it might be like an active complaint to file, then that's what we're peddling. And but whatever it is, it's like I just know that I kind of come from like I come from like a tradition of wanting to take people out of their life for a moment, and we can all kind of escape together for a couple hours. And that's, it seems to be a universal, thing with crowds.
Yeah. On tour, we more likely to find you in a guitar store or a record store?
Guitar store.
Yeah. You got that disease?
Yeah. Not that I need more guitar. I have the disease, definitely. And yeah, I'm a real guitar nerd. I like to Jeff and I both have that. Jeff has that he claims that he can remember that he had in many ways his memory might be compromised, but he says when it comes to knowing what instrument any band he saw play, he always knows. He can remember, oh yeah, they were using whatever, a mid-70s Gibson or whatever, and he knows the model and etc. And so yeah, I guess it's like the one little materialistic thing that I've never had any qualms with uh, indulging that tendency, because and then maybe there's a practical side to it, because I'm always like, well, who knows, if I have that guitar, maybe it'll bring something out of me, and it's useful. But regardless, it's just fun. I mean, I don't have limitless funds for it or space, so I do have to be mindful. And the older I get, but yeah, it's definitely a way to get in touch with my younger self. It's never gone away. That feeling,
Yeah. Will
that
you,
interest.
yeah, will you be bringing in the Thunderbird to Australia? And what's the story behind how you acquired that bass?
I'm sorry. Am I going to bring which bass?
A Thunderbird.
Oh, my Thunderbird. Well, yeah, I have a couple of Thunderbirds, and I hadn't quite sorted out what I'm bringing, but I probably am bringing one of my Thunderbirds. I have um, I'm not sure which one you're talking about, because you asked me about a story. There was one that I had when I was a teenager that was stolen, and then it was gone. It was stolen in Tucson, Arizona, and then it showed up on a Hollywood Sunset Boulevard used guitar shop 15 years later, and I had to pursue that. I had to pursue getting that bass back, and I did. That's more of like in a museum piece now. It's like a mid-70s Gibson, and I don't tour with it or whatever, but I have an Epiphone, a white Epiphone T-Bird that is sort of like a copy of the one that Jackie Fox has on the cover of the Runaways Live in Japan album. And that's going to be my mainstay for tours in the last, I don't know, 7 years since I've had it. And the story with that bass is that Buzz Osborne of the Melvins gave it to me as a gift, which was one of the most extravagant gifts I've ever received.
Yeah. And you're using orange amplification at the moment?
What kind of amplification?
Orange?
Oh, orange. Oh, no, not at the moment. I have before in the past. Um, I probably on this tour I will use whatever Ray will lend to me. I do use although I think I'll bring my own head. I use these solid state heads called dark glass, and they're really handy because they're not that large. They're really loud, and you can make them really clean or you can make them really dirty, and they switch voltages, so you can kind of go anywhere in the world. I think maybe Japan might be a wild card because they're at 100 volts, which is really weird, but you might have to step down for that. But I'll probably bring my dark glass heads, and then I'll use raised cabs.
Yeah. What's the history with traveling with the guitars? Have you had any airline disasters?
Only we've had things lost before, but nothing's been permanently lost. Oh, I take it back. One time when we were making Spirit of 76 for actually, Jeff and I traveled to San Francisco from Los Angeles, just a short flight, with acoustic guitars because we were writing a record at the time. And Jeff had this cheap or inexpensive at the time Kramer acoustic guitar called the Farrington. And I think that most famously, Chrissy Hines is pictured holding a Farrington on a late '80s record cover. But and I had a beautiful Martin guitar that I had saved up for a D28, and we flew with both of them. And and then I think we missed our flight, but our but our we somehow we managed to get our bags on the plane, and then we proceeded to like miss our flight. I don't know what we were doing. We were eating or something. So our bags arrived like an hour or two before us, and our guitars were floating around on the carousel. And someone nicked Jeff's cheap Farrington and left my 1970 Martin D28. So I was totally lucky, really. And that was our own. That wasn't the airline's fault. That was our own fault. Um, and so I can't remember what happened, what the outcome was. I think Jeff somehow he made a claim. That was back in the day when you could make a claim and they would actually do something about it. Since then, we've been very lucky. Buzz Osborne from the Melvins has so many TSA stories about them opening his guitar case. He's toured way more than I have over his life, and he's had millions of Les Pauls snapped in half. And I know in Australia once they they no, in New Zealand they took a knife to his like beautifully fitted flight case and just started pulling all the cushion, all the foam out of it, like looking for whatever, and then just stuffed it all kind of back in, and I think the guitar ended up breaking too because they couldn't close it. Or I forgot some horrible stuff, but yeah, I mean, my basic hack has just been one time, a bunch of stuff was supposed to make it to Madrid via London, Heathrow, and it got lost in Heathrow for a long time. But it eventually made it to us. And so now, whenever there's flying involved in a tour, I'm just kind of anal about no nonstops. I mean, only nonstops. And or if you have to connect, be really conservative about it. Give yourself like a 3 hour connection, and maybe they'll find a way to get your stuff to the next plane on time. But that's my advice for the traveling musician. Non-stop flights only.
Yeah. So, is there anything left on the Red Cross bucket list?
Oh yeah, plenty. I mean, I can't say that I'm organized enough to like actually write down a bucket list, but plenty of things thrill me. The idea of achieving, and I'm also very, I guess proud of the things I have achieved. I'm not sitting around feeling like um, total loser or anything, but or that I've been underappreciated. It feels, like I've gotten back about as much as I could hope to get back, and but I love doing what I do, and so there's always something else to there's another, and usually these opportunities scare the hell out of me too, like it's like so it's always a double-edged sword because I guess because I care, like if I didn't care, then I wouldn't feel nervous about things. It wouldn't matter. But you know, so it's torturous. You work really hard to get to the next level or something, or get some kind of notice that where you get new opportunities, and then it's like, for instance, we're about to like I was saying, we're going to go on this cruise ship. It's a festival on a cruise ship, and now I'm like, okay, that sounds exciting. Like, oh, like through the Caribbean. I've never been on a cruise ship, much less been the entertainment. But now I'm like, oh man, this isn't just like a regular gig where then when the night's done, it's like I'm at the gig for 4 days, and it makes me anxious, and it feels, and there are how many different songs am I supposed to learn, and that's anxiety producing too. But then I'm sure we will rise to the occasion. We're just gonna have to put some work into it, and I'm sure at the end of the day, um, it will have been a positive experience. So,
How are your sea legs?
well, I mean, I'm hoping it's a lot different than like, the first time I ever got on the in a boat, which was like a sailboat that was completely nauseating. As a kid, I labeled myself as someone that would get seasick, and but I'm imagining on these gigantic, basically hotel, luxury hotel on the sea that it will be a little different. I'm sure we'll be fine. I'm fine on ferries.
Yeah. So, what are you looking forward to most about the Australian tour?
Um, well, I mean, I haven't had a lot of time to envision it other than I just know that, I'm looking forward to hanging out with the Hard-Ons and Tim Rogers, who will be joining them on this tour. And we've toured with both the Hard-Ons and Tim's UMI band, so well, I've toured with Tim Rogers before too. But it's been years and it's so much fun. And although Hard-Ons just toured with the Melvins a little bit in the US, and you know, they're they're obsessives, and um, it's fun to find, kindred spirits in far off lands, and these are ones that relationships that we forged decades ago, and but these are very truly unique people that when you see them after not seeing them forever, it's like, oh, you haven't changed at all. It's like exactly the same. You just kind of pick up on the end of that last conversation from however many years ago. And um, so, yeah, that experience hanging out with that crew, and then just playing, going to unique places. I think we're playing places I haven't played before in Australia, and I know they have chosen a tour because the Hard-Ons really kind of put it together with their manager, and I think they chose a nice balance of capital cities and then smaller towns, and unfortunately we're not going to Adelaide or Perth, and we get a lot of griping online about that, and I'm sorry. I wish we could. I love Western Australia in particular, but or what I've seen of it, um, but hopefully, you know, no love lost, and there'll be another opportunity.
Yeah. Right, Steve. Well, it's been great to chat, and we look forward to seeing you down here soon.
Thank you so much.